Hey YouTube, this is Alexander, and today I'm going to be giving you my full video review, overview, and how to install Android 5.0 Lollipop on the Nexus 4. So there is some things to get out of the way first. So this is actually a port from the L developer preview or Lollipop developer preview that is currently available for the Nexus 5 and Nexus 7 2013 version. So this in no way is going to be completely bug-free. Especially since it's a port from a developer preview, which could itself have some bugs. Most things work in this ROM. I'll go ahead and talk about some of the bugs in here. I got to give a huge thanks and shout out to, I hope I'm saying this right, Sykopompos, but him and his crew over there at XDA getting this ROM ported and working has been really awesome. I will leave the links down below for everything that I talk about that I mentioned in the video description. So be sure to hit that if you guys want to flash this, and you will need to be rooted and have super user permissions and a custom recovery. So installation isn't really hard. You basically just go ahead and wipe data factory reset like you would do a normal clean flash from another ROM. And then once you're done, you're just going to go ahead and install zip and then choose zip from SD card, pick the O// directory, and if you downloaded it straight to your device, it will be in the download section. And if you did not, and you maybe copied it from your computer over to your the root of your SD card in your Nexus 4, it should be there. Basically, just go ahead and click on it and go ahead and flash it. Now, this is the Bunny Apocalypse Beta 11. And it will take a few minutes to flash, so don't worry if it's maybe hanging up a little bit. It's going to take a couple minutes, but not too long. So once the ROM is done flashing, you should be good to go. Now this is not rooted. I don't believe it's rooted right as soon as you install it. So if you want to, you have to flash the supersu.zip, which I will leave a link to again down below in the description. The website actually, we can download it and flash the zip after you flash the ROM. But yeah. Basically, just make sure to back up your current ROM because things can go wrong. There can be a bad download. Maybe the installation there was a problem with the installation. So make sure you back up your current ROM and then go ahead and flash this ROM so that if there's any problems, you can of course get back to your older ROM and then try to reflash this or maybe re-download and reflash. But anyway, here it's booting up, and now this boot will take, I believe, about 10 minutes. That's the time not sped up, about 10 minutes or so. You can go ahead and get some coffee or go take a nap and come back, whatever you want to do, but it will take a little while. So just be mindful of that. Don't worry if it's taken about 10 minutes. Now, if it takes maybe 20, 30 minutes, there's definitely something wrong and you possibly are in a boot loop and you might want to revert back to your older ROM and again, try to reflash it. But yeah, so just let this do its thing and then we'll be right back. So once it's just about done, you will feel a little vibrate and the colors might kind of brighten up a bit and the screen might just overall brighten up. And then they'll go a little dim, start to lag a bit, and then you should get the Android splash screen right up on your screen, and there it is. So we've got the new welcome screen for Android 5.0 Lollipop, and we can get a taste of that sweet, sweet lollipop, and it looks fantastic. Just from the start menu, I gotta say, or from the welcome menu, it looks great. So you can go ahead and choose your language. Everything here works just as it should. Choose your language for whatever country you're in or whatever language you speak. And then you can go ahead and hit that yellow sort of next floating action button. And then we're going to skip this. I don't have a SIM card. We'll go ahead and skip the Wi-Fi. And I want to let you guys know something that actually does work, but I don't really show it here, is the NFC setup. So if you have a device that you already have set up that you want to sort of port over to the Nexus 4, so you've got your apps and everything on a Nexus 5 and you want to use NFC to set this device up, that does work here. So even though this is a port and some things don't work, that is something that does work, which is pretty cool. You can actually set it up based on a previous device. So here we go. We've got the home screen and that new animation with the new Google Now launcher, and let's go ahead and take a look at it. So we've got the lock screen here, and if you swipe in from the left, we can see we get the new dialer application. And I like that new animation for swiping in from the left and right. It's very different from the previous developer preview, and it looks really cool. And swiping in from the right will get us to the camera, which does have one bug, but it's not really a huge one. But if we actually turn off the screen, you can see it no longer does that CRT animation. It sort of fades out to black and white, and then finally black and just turns it off. So this is full Android 5.0 Lollipop running on the Nexus 4, and it's really awesome. It looks great. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it deeper. So if we go ahead and swipe down from the notification bar, we can see we've got our notifications here. This is a card from Google Now. We've also got the swipe all or dismiss all, clear all rather, declare all notifications is present. We've got our new toggles. We've got the brightness slider, which looks a little different and a little tweaked from the last developer preview. Tapping on a toggle just once, no longer need a long press, will get you to the toggle to turn on rather, and then tapping right under will of course get us into the settings for that toggle. We've got the auto rotate, but unfortunately the little animation that you guys may remember from my last video is gone, which makes me a little sad because that was a really cool animation. But the flashlight is present. We do have a new toggle for flashlight, which is super handy, which I really like. Cast screen, I've noticed there may or may not be problems with it. I couldn't really get cast screen working. Now tapping the battery will get us into the battery settings and you have a new percent. And there's also the ability to just get into the different profiles if you'd like. So if you share a phone or you maybe let your son or daughter or little brother or sister, whatever, borrow your phone, you can set up a new guest account for them or a user account and they can go ahead and use it without interfering with any of your stuff. This has been available on tablets for some time, but it's finally now on phones. So there are a couple different ways to access those toggles. You can just tap the gray spot, you can swipe down twice, and you can also just swipe down with 2 fingers. So there's a couple different ways to access the quick toggles, which is pretty nice in case you want to do it a different way than maybe just 1 or 2 of the ways. And again, the clear all notifications is really welcome and I really enjoy that. So if we go and take a look at the animations and the nice transitions in the Android 5.0 Lollipop port, we can see that there's a new animation from the home screen to the app drawer and in folders. And I know you guys don't really care for the app drawer at this point. I asked you guys on Google Plus and you didn't seem too interested in it, but give it some time. It actually grew on me and I really like it. Something that I actually noticed that was quite interesting is there's a bounce back effect on the home screen and in the app drawer. So it'll be interesting to see because Android has never had this. It's always been iOS. What Google does if they actually keep this in the final version or if they take it out. But I thought it was kind of cool. So something that Google has actually done to a lot of its apps is added some more color in the header as well as in the status bar, and I gotta say it looks really nice. The status bar color is just a bit darker than the header color and it just blows my mind at how nice that looks. Such a small thing that they added and it goes quite a long way because it definitely looks a lot nicer. And I mean here on the clock you can see it blue and a darker blue and it just makes me, happy to see that because it looks really nice and the floating action buttons also kind of match that color and they just look really nice. But anyway, if we go ahead and swipe around, I'm not going to take too much time on the Google Now launcher since, that's an app and a lot of these things are apps that are going to get updated through the Play Store, but the speed is actually really fluid and nice. You can see we have our recents here and they work just as they should, as you would expect from Android 5.0 Lollipop. They do look a lot different than they did back in Kit Kat and all the way back to Ice Cream Sandwich. And I really like that. It's a nice, fresh, new take on it. And they do look a lot nicer, I gotta say, than Kit Kat and prior. So we've still got the OK Google hot word search here. And on this ROM specifically, it does work. So if you guys are into saying OK Google and checking for the weather or anything like that, this port does support that and it will work. So no problems here with that anyway. So something that I've noticed is Google still has a problem with being consistent across its apps. So we've got a new slider here or a new hamburger style navigation menu animation. We've got it going from a hamburger to an arrow and it looks really cool. I enjoy this quite a bit, but it's not available in all apps. And you can see here that in the newsstand app, it's not really there. I mean, you've got the hamburger style navigation menu, but it doesn't really turn into an arrow that you can see. And in Google Plus, it's not even there at all. Your options and everything is sort of hidden underneath a down arrow, and then the settings are sort of off to the top right with 3 dots. And in Google Drive, you don't even see any part of the hamburger move at all. So it's just really weird to me that Google is so inconsistent even on this new beautiful version of Android, and I really hope that that is fixed or corrected in subsequent versions or even in the final version of Android 5.0. So heading into the settings and about phone, we'll go ahead and show that this is Android 5.0. Probably should have done this earlier, but here it is, Android 5.0, and it doesn't have at the moment the traditional Lollipop Easter egg, unfortunately, with the game. Now, it was available in previous betas of this ROM and the alphas, but in this beta, for whatever reason, it has been removed. Hopefully, it's added, and if this ROM does get any updates, be sure to make sure and keep up to date with the XDA thread. But yeah, we can go ahead and take a look at some of the apps. So you can see that these apps are, the icons especially, are sort of updated and they look nice. I really like the app icons. But anyway, you can see downloads is sort of redone just a bit. If we go into Gmail, this is also redone a bit, as you saw from, when I sort of looked at it a little bit with the header. But as you can see, there is some inconsistency with the hamburger style navigation menu. But the animations are really beautiful. We can go ahead and compose a new email and send it to, use the new keyboard, which looks pretty cool. It is going to take a while getting used to blocky keys that we haven't had before, but it looks great. The keyboard looks nice. There is a dark theme, by the way, so if you guys want to check that out, but the keyboard is subject to change probably more than any other apps. So if we go ahead and head on into the calculator, one of the newly redesigned apps, we can see that we've got nice little bubbly animation for when you press a key. When you multiply, the answers right there, and then it kind of just springs up and magnifies into where you were typing the problem. And if we swipe in from the left, you can see we've got a little bit more sort of detailed options for the calculator. And it just looks really nice. And it's one of those apps where I don't use it often, if at all ever, but it kind of makes me want to, just because of how beautiful it looks. And just keep in mind though that with any ROM or any preview, things are subject to change. So, things will probably change and may change in certain areas that you may not want them to for the final version. But I wouldn't imagine everything changing too drastically in the final version. But anyway, here we've got the calendar, and I gotta say, it looks really nice. You actually have a nice map. If you have an address attached to your event, you will get a nice sort of map view of that. And then of course you can hit that down arrow up top to be taken to different areas of the month. And there you go, more inconsistency with the hamburger style navigation menu. But you can see we can slide between the months, and it just looks really nice. This is something that I'm actually more excited for than I thought I would be, a calendar. I don't really use it that often. I don't really want to think about it because it contains things that I gotta do that I may not want to do. But it looks really awesome, and I like the names of the colors, and I hope they keep this for the final. We've got sort of food related items, and I guess flamingo, which isn't really a food, and peacock, but we got cool little names there for those. And the creating new event also looks really beautiful. It's just done a lot better than the previous one, or I guess I should say current one. And if you're swiping between months, you can see a nice picture there. And as you're scrolling through, maybe going from one month to the next, it's kind of nice to have a cool little picture to sort of see when you're swiping between them. And these are actually available as wallpapers too, which have been posted recently in the minimalist wallpapers community, if you guys want to check that out. But anyway, diving into the camera, nothing here has changed really, and this is something that I believe should be getting an update for the final version of Android 5.0 Lollipop. The camera works just fine in this ROM specifically, getting back to the ROM because after all this is a port. The camera works just fine, it's nice and smooth, but the problem that you have is when you're trying to take a selfie or use the front-facing camera, I would say. If I switch into it, I don't know if you guys can really tell, but it is laggy, so it's just not really smooth. And I believe the developers over at XDA are trying to get that working. I'm not sure if they've sort of quit on that or if they're continuing, but at this moment it's not really fluid or smooth. So the clock app is something that has been redone, and it's still pretty simple, but it looks really cool with that blue. And this is something that actually is going to change throughout the day. So if you wake up at 7, for example, you might get a really, really bright baby blue background, and then as the day progresses, into noon, it's going to look a little more similar to this color blue, a little darker, and then into the night, it'll turn into sort of a purplish, and then finally when the sun is set and everything in your area, it'll be just a drab gray. So it's really cool that the background changes according to the time. Here we've got the dialer application, which is something that I really like. The fact that I can actually hide the most recent call as well as the search contacts and places. And that's something I don't think I've seen in any other apps before, whether on the Play Store or in another OS. And it just looks really cool, and it makes room for more things that maybe you're more interested in seeing. And I think this is something that should be expanded to other applications, and I hope it is going to be, because it just looks really cool. So backing out of there, and if we go ahead and take a look at the settings, as mentioned a little bit earlier and kind of bobbed in there, we can see that in the app section specifically, and in the running section of the app section, we can see more information about what apps are or how much RAM is being used by the system and the apps, and then how much is left free, which is pretty cool. You get more of a detailed look at the RAM usage. But other than that, not too much has changed. We do have smart lock here. So if we go ahead and set up our pattern, this basically allows us to connect a Bluetooth device or a smartwatch or maybe an NFC chip, and allows us to bypass the lock screen. Now this has been available in Motorola devices, I believe. It's already available in them, but now we've got it in stock Android for Nexus devices and any other device that's running stock Android. That's not a Motorola device basically. So like I said, if you wanted to basically just pair your Bluetooth watch to this guy, it should work just fine. Now, I haven't actually been able to use Bluetooth, unfortunately. It seems to be kind of a hit and miss with the Nexus 4, and I haven't been able to actually hit it. So, unfortunately, the Bluetooth on this ROM is sort of wonky, I guess. It's got a mind of its own. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I haven't actually been able to get it to work, unfortunately. Now, we've also got Trusted Face, which is currently just broken. It just force closes, which is very similar to what they introduced with Ice Cream Sandwich when they talked about being able to unlock your phone without putting the code in, or bypassing it rather, with your face. And right now it's broken on the ROM, but that is going to be present if you'd like to do that on the final version of Android 5.0. So something that is actually pretty cool but kind of confusing is they redid the email application, the icon, but when you open it, it just advises you to open Gmail, which is in itself a separate app that has gotten an update. So it's kind of interesting to kind of wonder why they included the email app with a new icon if they just are going to have you go on over to Gmail, which by the way now supports IMAP and POP accounts as well as corporate accounts, which is really handy. Taking a look at the Fit application, it unfortunately doesn't work anymore. It did work when the ROM first went live and you could download and install it, but since then Google's done something on their side to make it not work, require an update, but you can't really get that update in the Play Store. So unfortunately I can't show you it, but it was basically just an area where you could input your height and weight, and it could track your eating habits and your exercise habits to help you, I guess, stay fit. But if we go ahead and take a look at the messaging app, which is something that a lot of people have been kind of curious about, this is a redesigned messaging app for Nexus devices, and I hope it goes to AOSP so that the stock messenger currently out is sort of killed off, because this one looks a lot better. But it is basically Google's attempt to allow you to quickly send text messages and MMS messages if you guys don't want to use Hangouts. So if you guys are using Hangouts for MMS and SMS and you guys don't really want to, this is an app that you guys can actually use to replace that. So it's structured similarly, I would say, to Hangouts in a way, but it does look like an SMS app. So at the same time, it's kind of got its own feel to it. You can send voice memos, which is pretty interesting because I don't think that's an SMS MMS standard. I could be wrong, but it seems like they've built that in. And if we go ahead and hit the paperclip button, you've got a nice little preview right here of what that picture is going to be with the conversation still on the screen. So you can actually still see the conversation while you're taking the picture if you'd like. You can also hit the video capture button, I guess to say, and go ahead and start recording a video that you can then send to the person you're talking to, and it works pretty well and it's pretty cool. MMS does work with this ROM, so in case you guys are wondering, you guys can send picture messages and video messages as well as voice memos. So everything here works just as you'd expect it. But unfortunately, again, the front-facing camera is kind of laggy, and if you didn't notice there, the camera itself, the back-facing camera when you're in the messaging app, is laggy as well, so just something to take note there. You can also attach previously taken pictures and screenshots, of course, so if you want to do that, that's your thing. Of course, you can do that. Send a picture of Albert right there. And of course, as mentioned, you can tap and hold the microphone button to basically record a quick voice memo and then go ahead and send that off to the person, and it works pretty well. And even though I actually sent a test to my girlfriend, and even though she's on Hangouts, which doesn't really support this functionality, she could still listen to it. So if you want to use this, the people you send to should be able to still listen to it if they're using Hangouts anyway. So real quickly, we can also place a call straight to that contact that we're messaging if we'd like, and here's how the call sort of dialogue looks. It looks really, really nice, I gotta say. I heavily enjoy the way that it looks with the colors. And then if we go ahead and tap on the contact on their picture anyway in the messaging app, we get this really cool looking card styled contact information card. And this is actually how it works in the Contacts app as well. And you can actually just slide it up and down, and sliding it down will just get rid of it. And it's really great the way that they did that. So we can go ahead and take a look at the settings again for like what, the fourth time. But yes, we can go ahead and go back into the settings, and you can see there's a nice little break between different sections of the settings. So that is something that is a little different than the previous developer preview, and I believe this would probably be the final version. I'm hoping, because I like the little break. It sort of more easily allows you to identify which setting belongs in what area, I guess you could say. And you've also got a new feature, ambient display, which I highly doubt is coming to any previous Nexus devices. Might be exclusive to Nexus 6 and Nexus 9. But basically, when you get a notification and your screen is off, it pops up just like Moto Display. And it's pretty cool, you know, because if you have your phone off, or at least the screen off, and you get a notification, it'll kind of light up, so you don't really have to worry about, you know, wondering if you got one or what it says. It's just quickly right there. And then if you pick up your device, as you can see here, I didn't even touch the power button, but my lock screen automatically kind of woke up, and I could see the notification right there on it. So that's something that's really handy, and I hope it's coming to previous Nexus devices, but I am very skeptical that it's going to. But anyway, you can see here we've got interruptions, which is basically like a do not disturb setting. So this is something that's finally available, and I'm really happy. It was available in the previous developer preview, but it's coming to Android, and it just makes me really happy because you can actually set certain calls and certain messages to come through priority mode if you guys want to, you know, basically quiet everything else but keep certain notifications coming through. Maybe you're taking an exam in class, or you're in a meeting or something like that, and you maybe need some notifications coming through but not all of them. So that's really cool. We've also got battery saver mode, which is, as it says, going to save your battery. It's going to turn down the CPU, it's going to turn down the brightness, it's going to stop some background syncing, and it's going to turn off animation. So it's basically going to do its best job to try to save as much battery for you if you're in a sticky situation where you need that battery, but you don't want to manually go through and turn off a bunch of things. So it's really handy. Now, something I really don't like about it is the fact that it's got orange status and nav bars. And that's just really, I don't know why they did that. I mean, it's got a persistent notification right up there, so you can see very easily, hey, I've got battery saver mode on. And furthermore, you can even disable battery saving mode with just one tap after you swipe the notification down. As you can see here, if I just go ahead and swipe the notification down, I can get right into turn off battery saver. So I don't know why they kept the orange status and nav bars, or at least added it, but I hope it goes away, because I mean, I just don't see the point. It's kind of redundant to let me know that, hey, it's on if I've got the notification right up there. And furthermore, it makes it just look really bad in case you're opening an app and it should have a different status bar look, but instead it's taken over by the orange. Anyway, it's just not my favorite thing, and I'm sure a lot of other people agree with me about that. But, you know, that's battery saver mode. It's really handy, but the orange bars are kind of a nuisance. So if we go ahead and turn off battery saver mode, and we can go ahead and again go into Chrome, and I've got a couple tabs open here, but you can't see that in Chrome. Where you can see them though is in the multitasking. So in Recents, you now have your Chrome tabs mixed in with the recent apps. So it's really cool, and I like it actually, or at least so far I like it. And if you don't like it, don't worry, you can actually turn that off. There's an option in Chrome that I'm sure they'll keep for the final version of Android 5.0 Lollipop, where you can actually turn off that functionality. So if you don't want it in there, you don't have to, and then Chrome will just appear as a separate tab, and not all of your Chrome tabs will appear as separate tabs, if that makes sense. So that was Android 5.0 Lollipop. Sort of a full review for the Nexus 4. It's just a port, so as mentioned, there are things that are not working at the moment, and some of those things include, I mean, Bluetooth issues, like I said. The maps actually gets force closed when you're trying to look for directions. The speaker and microphone sort of might not work on the first call, but after subsequent calls in a reboot, it should work. Screencasting, I don't believe works. Bluetooth, as mentioned, is a little bit, you know, wonky at times, and the front-facing camera is really laggy, and Trusted Faces force closes. But other than those things, I haven't really noticed huge bugs that have prevented me from actually using this as my daily driver. It is a little stuttery, and that might be the processor, that might be the port. But other than that, the guys over at XDA, Sykopompos, hopefully I'm saying that right, have done a great job in his team. So that's it. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe down there for more, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.